morning everybody, Calm Biker here. Just heading through the middle of Beverley on a lovely Saturday morning. Probably a bad idea. Certainly if you want to ride quick, then the centre of Beverley on a Saturday morning is not the best place. However, I'm not looking to ride quick at this moment. Apart from anything, I'm running out of petrol and I've got no money with me, so I'm just going to record a quick video before I either head home or run out of petrol and call the AA. We'll see which happens first. I want to talk to you about what I'm going to call a spectrum of risk, because that seems like a snazzy title for a video. The spectrum of risk. I'm sure I could have come up with something better. But it's the thing that's made me think about it. Normally I'd go down there, but not when he's indicating. The thing that made me think about it is, well, there's two things. One is, there's a particular group I belong to on a social media thing, which is a Kawasaki group. Because it's handy to be in a group that's related to your bike or your hobby if it's not bikes, because you can learn stuffs. But occasionally people will post things that aren't directly related to the topic of the group. And somebody the other day posted a picture, I think, of himself sat on a bike, which was a Kawasaki, in shorts and t-shirt and a helmet, and it might be in flip-flops, I don't know. But you know the picture that I'm talking about, not necessarily the actual photograph, but you know that type of picture. See it all the time, people riding along, t-shirt and shorts. And when you post that type of picture to social media, it always provokes an argument. And the argument goes along the lines of, some people say, you should be able to wear what you want. I like riding when it's hot in shorts and a t-shirt and flip-flops. And some people say, crazy stupid, asking for death. And I think that's near one end of the spectrum. My personal position on it, I wouldn't ride a bike in shorts and a t-shirt. But if that's your thing, I suppose that's your thing, you know. My one downside to it in this country is that we all pitch in for healthcare, so I suppose there's a certain amount of responsibility for trying to keep yourself as healthy as possible, and coming off and leaving a slug trail of skin behind on the road is probably a bad thing. However, somewhere down the scale, somewhere down the risk scale, is riding a bike through a herd of cows. No, is riding a bike at all. So Mrs. C was chatting with a friend of her parents the other day, and someone she doesn't see very often, and presumably because she hadn't seen him very often, and she knows that I've had an accident where I ended up with a broken collarbone and whatnot, she was saying, has he got back on a bike again? Has he been out on that? How's he been out on that bike? That kind of thing. And of course Mrs. C said, yes, he has. Now it happened to be just after Rob 64's meetup. So his cow up there is just intent. It's almost like it's guiding other ones across the road. It's actually stopped and waited for another cow to follow. Yeah, it was just after Rob 64's meetup, where basically my ride was about 100 miles of fog, followed by 100 yards of nice, followed by about probably 70 miles of rain. After you, Mrs. Cow, or Mr. Cow, I can't see from under you. And then the way back was pretty much 170 miles of rain. So Mrs. C said, oh yes, yeah, he's been out back. He's just been out for a long ride, 300 and some miles in the rain. And the response to that was, well, that'll teach him not to ride a bike, won't it? As if, and this is because they don't want me riding a bike because they see too much risk in it. But as if I'm going to have, I mean, I've had one road accident, one off-road accident, I've broken 2 collarbones and gone through plenty of pain from that. If that isn't going to put me off, the idea that getting wet is going to put me off is a little bit silly. Being mounted by a cow might put me off. Look at this. Again, it's like this one's holding the traffic while that one catches up. They're pretty good at this crossing the road, like, aren't they? Hello, cow. So yes, that's not going to put me off. But that's the kind of the other end of the risk, isn't it? Again, yeah, stopping the traffic, look. That's amazing. I've never seen that before. That's going to make this video longer, but I've got to keep it in, haven't I? So that's the other end of kind of the risk scale. Well, it's not the other end though, is it? And I suppose this is where I'm getting to, and I'll probably have to speed it up now before I run out of petrol or time. But we all see risk in different ways. So at one end of the scale, there's people who just, in my eyes, aren't really seeing the risk at all, or are just accepting of it. If I happen to ride along and I haven't got gloves on and I haven't got gear on, and in America in certain places I haven't got a helmet on, basically I've got no protection on at all, I don't care, I'll take that risk. I won't, but they will. Now, to me that seems silly, but it only seems silly probably in the same way that me in full gear seems silly getting on what some people call a crotch rocket, don't they? What I mean, this thing's it's a missile. So getting onto something like this in leathers and a helmet, and let's not pretend that coming off at 70 miles an hour and hitting a curb or some street furniture, or a road sign, a street light, or anything like that. Let's not pretend that a helmet and some leathers is going to help much. You know, that's for slow speed stuff, really. So it's only the same kind of risk that somebody who doesn't ride a bike sees me taking. And then there are people at the other end further still that, you know, they happen to be sat in a coffee shop having a cup of coffee. I mean, you're taking a risk there. If you have one of them iced coffees, I've seen the TV programmes, I've seen how much urine is in the ice. But, you know, to some people, they are taking an unnecessary risk, aren't they? Because to some people, on the real bottom end of that risk spectrum, there are people who are scared to leave the house, agoraphobics. They just will not go outside. They don't want to see other people, they don't want to go into the open air, they don't want any risk at all, they just want to sit and feel safe. So there's a whole kind of spectrum of risk, a scale of risk there. And let's be honest, if you're on a bike, you're not at the bottom end of that scale. You know, you're probably in the top quarter, maybe the top 10%. You're probably amongst the vast majority of people seen as a high risk taker. As they say, vehicles on the road, only 1% of them are bikes. Only 1% of vehicles, and a lot of people have vehicles have 2 bikes, but let's say it's just on the people alone. And not everybody drives, so let's take that out of the equation as well. Maybe some people would see bikers as being in the top 1% of risk takers on those numbers alone. So I think it's quite a wide scale. I think we're at the top end, and I think it's interesting that people who might be in the top 1% of risk takers are quick to criticise those who are maybe only in the top 0.1%. But it becomes a very, very small difference. And there's this kind of a question in this, I suppose, is where do you sit on this risk scale? Because I think even amongst us, there are lots of different risk takers. There are people who will just ride a bike, bolt upright, slow down for every bend, go as safely as possible, never go out in the rain. And then there are people who will go out in all weathers. There are people who will go around every corner scraping pegs or knees. There are people who won't go on a track because they think it's too dangerous. There are people who will go on a track and say it's safer than being on the road. There's a huge spectrum. So let's make it 2 questions. And if you're a vlogger, why not make a video response? Because I think this is probably more, in a lot of cases, than you're going to fit in 2 or 3 lines of text in a comment at the bottom of the video. But, and especially if you're at one of the extreme ends of the biker risk scale as well. Here we have somebody at the low end of risk, look. Come on, you know you want to. With the bushes like this, it's a tricky overtake down this bit, sometimes you have to wait. So yeah, I'd be interested to know, where are you on the risk scale for one? Some people wouldn't have taken that overtake, for example. So where do you fit on that risk scale? On the bike and off, maybe. But also, where do you fit on your judgment of other people? Do you think it's right to judge people just because they have a different clothing choice when they're on a bike? Well, let me know what you think in them there comments, or as I say, even better still, in them there videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ride safe. Or don't. And I'll talk to you all again soon.